Hi all, welcome to this one more webinar from Telerik India. This webinar is all about building SPA with Kendo UI. This is a series of webinars that we have been doing in the APAC region in the India Standards Time. So this happens every Thursday from 3 to 4. So if you want to know more about these series of webinars, I request you to go to www.telerikhelper.net. We have a blog post which has all the schedule for June, July, and then we will be publishing rest of the months coming up in the August, like that. So without much further ado, let me start this webinar. This is Building SPA with Kendo UI. A little bit of introduction about me. If you've been a regular to this webinar series, you would pretty much know who am I. For the rest of the folks, my name is Lohit GN. That's the photograph that you see. That's how I look. My primary role is a developer evangelist at Telerik India. My official email ID is lohit.nagaraj@telerik.com. If you are on Twitter, you can tweet to me at the handle Kashyapa, Kashyapa. I blog at my own, I have a blog of my own, so I keep writing there on general ASP.NET related things because I'm an ASP.NET and IIS MVP. So that's kashyapas.com, and I keep writing everything about Telerik at telerikhelper.net. So if you are a Telerik user, you should bookmark this site, telerik.com and telerikhelper.net. We, along with my colleagues, Dhananjay and Abhishek, we keep writing a lot of Telerik related stuff at telerikhelper.net. Mostly these are how to use, a component or something like that. So better bookmark this site. So that's a little brief introduction about me. So today we're going to be building a SPA. I'm pretty sure when I say SPA, many of you would have thought about this. The first thing that comes to your mind when I say SPA should have been this, right? So whatever you're seeing on your screen now, that is what I believe you would have thought when we said, hey, let's build a SPA with Kendo UI. But that's not what we're going to be looking at today. No, this is not the SPA that we are talking about. So what exactly is SPA then? Well, SPA, or it's pronounced as SPA, is one of the kind of coolest thing that is coming up on the web application, web technology side. It actually stands for single page applications. As the name says, it's a single page. There's no, traditionally the way we all are used to building a web application is, the number of screens that we have, that many pages are there, physically in our application. So you pretty much keep going and then doing a, response.redirect or response. All those doing the transfers and all those things between page 1 to page 2 to page 3, kind of things. But everything is changing. It's changing for the good. And SPA stands for single page application. So what exactly is an SPA? Well, it's a web application which fits on a single page, and it provides a fluid user experience. When we say fluid user experience, it's all about, people, when they are doing a desktop-based application, they get a feeling of, it's fluid, it's just flowing. I'm not doing there's no refresh of the screens or anything, but, just I keep playing with the screens or with different parts of the application so fluidly. So similar fluid user experience is being now brought onto web applications, wherein when the user comes into your application, the first page loads, and then from then onwards, any other pages or any other functionality in your application is so fluidly presented that he gets a feeling like, oh, I never left the single page. So that's about the fluid user experience. Plus, it loads all the necessary code with single page load, meaning when the application starts, it pretty much loads the complete data set that is required for it to function, and then it's already loaded. So this is what constitutes, or this is what we term as SPA, a web app that fits on a single page. It provides a fluid user experience. It loads all the necessary code with a single page load. So this is what SPA is all about. The next question may be, why do I need an SPA? Why suddenly something that we are, we're not used to this, and then we have been used to a traditional way of programming, but why suddenly this concept called a single page application? Well, there are three things that you should know. I keep talking about this particular concept that there is a device proliferation happening. There is a OS proliferation happening pretty much from last 2 to 3 years. You name a device, pretty much users are browsing the net through those devices. The handheld smartphones, the tablets. Within the tablet there are plenty of devices, and then even in the OS, we were used to. When we say web, we were used to only the desktop browser, maybe on a Windows platform or on a Mac or something like that. So now it's changed. Your Twitter experience is not only on the web, but also on the devices, but also on the tablets. You name a device, people are connecting to the internet. So that is reach. If you want to provide reach for your application, you better do something which runs on every platform, which runs on every operating system. When I say every platform and every operating system, every OS has its own browser, right? For example, on the Windows, you have all the major browsers. On the Mac, you have different browser. On phones, you have different browsers. So how do you make sure everybody displays your UI correctly? Well, that's when you go for something known as HTML5. So basically, these spas are built with pure HTML, and that too using the latest standards of HTML5, CSS3, and JavaScript, because what happens with that is, all the modern browsers, they have pretty much they support the latest and greatest HTML things. Plus, it provides a rich user experience. How is it rich? The user is never left a single page. Like, he's there in a page and he never left that, and then we are giving him a different screens coming up with all the transitions and all the stuff. So he sees like, okay, this is good. So that's a user experience that is increased. Plus, there's a reduced round trip. So we are not going to be doing the full page postbacks. We are not going to be doing full page repaints. Rather, we get a portion of the data that we require and then just paint it on the client side. So that's pretty much why you should use an SPA. So I hope everybody, I hope I've said the context now when I say what is SPA and then why do you need an SPA. So now let's talk a little bit about what Kendo is, and then how Kendo UI provides this concept of SPA. How does Kendo UI play along with this concept of SPA? So those of you who are new to Kendo UI, it's basically one package and infinite possibilities. Kendo UI is nothing but it's a JavaScript library. It's an HTML5 based JavaScript library. It is based on jQuery, meaning we depend on only one thing, and that is jQuery. We are of course HTML5 compliant. It is based on the complete HTML5 things, but we do support IE7 plus and all the other browsers. So it's just not HTML5, but we know how to work when there is no HTML5 support. We pretty much use CSS3 to do a couple of things, and then we have a lot of framework solutions within Kendo UI. One is a desktop solution, which is nothing but we have something known as Kendo UI Web, and we have Kendo UI Data Viz. Web stands for the web controls, Data Viz for data visualization controls, which can run on anything, pretty much the desktop browser, the mobile browsers, anything. And we have an exclusive set for mobile known as Kendo UI Mobile Controls, which can do adaptive rendering, and these are called as hybrid mobile apps. And then you can use Kendo UI Mobile Controls, which is again HTML5 based, and it's completely HTML. And then the controls that you use from Kendo UI library, they know how to render themselves in different platforms. If you put a button and then run the app or deploy the app to iOS, the button will look like iOS blue shade button, whereas in an Android it will look like an Android. On BlackBerry it will look like BlackBerry, and the button will look like a Windows phone button on a Windows phone platform. So that's what Kendo UI Mobile is all about. So why Kendo UI? As I said, it's a single package. You do not need anything else. It's basically a package which contains the UI widgets, which contains framework elements, which is modular in nature, and also the biggest thing that we provide you in Kendo UI is a client-side data source, and also out-of-the-box MVVM. So basically, as I said, it's a single package. Everything is packaged inside that, so you do not need any plugin X, plugin Y, plugin Z. We also have data visualization, as I was talking about. So it's all about the charts, graphs, gauges. The Kendo UI Mobile Control, they provide you native-like, meaning native-looking hybrid mobile applications. We follow the latest web standards, and also we have an aggressive release schedule. We release only 3 times, basically 3 times a year, and then it's a set course. We don't slip on that. We tell you upfront what we are going to release in next roadmap and all the stuff. So this is how Kendo UI is all about, plays along. So we pretty much have 3 packages within Kendo UI. Kendo UI is a brand name, and Kendo UI Web is a web package which contains the UI widgets for web controls, frameworks, browsers, and all this stuff. Data Viz package contains visualizations like charts and gauges. Mobile package contains the hybrid apps, HTML and then CSS based, and the native UI. It renders like a native UI. So we have a package known as Kendo UI Complete, which gives you everything. We also have server wrappers, meaning if you're not proficient with writing JavaScript, so you don't have to worry. We have server-side wrappers for that. You can program in your comfortable language, like we support ASP.NET MVC, which is nothing but a Razor and C#. We do have PHP wrappers, we do have JSP wrappers. So it's up to you, whichever language you are in, you can pretty much pick it up and then start writing in your own language, and then it will spit out the JavaScript required for this to work on the client side, because Kendo UI is all about client side HTML5 JavaScript framework. So coming back to Kendo UI Web, which is what we're going to be looking today, Kendo UI Web will support SPA-based programming out of the box. So I'll show you how that happens. Kendo UI Web is all about UI widgets. We have grid, menu, tab strip, etc., etc. There are close to 25 plus controls, but I was short of putting them in this slide deck. So I just said etc. So if you go to kendoui.com, you will be able to see all the widgets that are available. These widgets are nothing but controls out of the box with 5 lines of code. They start working on your page. We have this concept of client-side data source, wherein you just have to tell us the endpoints for your CRUD operations, and then we'll be able to do all the plumbing for you, all the HTTP plumbing, like go open the go post to the URL or get from the URL, get the data as a JSON, bind it to the control. We'll do everything as part of the data source. All you need to do is tell us what is that endpoint for create, retrieve, update, and delete. We work out of the box. If your data exchange is JSON or XML based, we work out of the box. You do not have to do anything else. We support MVVM out of the box. We give you templating features. Drag and drop is supported, animations is supported, and we also have built-in touch support, meaning if you create a web page using Kendo UI controls and then that web page is being viewed in a touch device, our controls understand those touch points, and then they will be able to relate that to just give me a second. Okay, so that is what pretty much about the Kendo UI Web. So now before I go into this section, SPA using Kendo UI, let me run a quick poll and then try to understand how you guys have done it. So let me quickly run this poll. So I'll give maybe 1 more minute. So please go ahead. I see you guys are already voting it. So you'll have 20 more, maybe 30 seconds more. Just go ahead and then run this poll. So I see, like, many of you have just heard it. Some of you have experimented with it. Oh, that's great that 9% of you are using it in your application. That's good. The industry is moving towards a different direction, so that's good that you're already adapting to that. Some of you are saying doesn't sound useful to me. Well, just wait till I give you a demo, and then you will understand what we meant. Okay, I'm going to now close the poll. I have 69% of you saying, like, you have just heard of them. So I mean, 19 you're saying have experimented with that. Okay, I'm going to close the poll now. That's a good caveat for us. So, like, 68% of you have heard of it. That's pretty good. And 19% have experimented with it. Good. That's even more better. 10% you're already using it. That's awesome. I would like you to pay a close attention to what we show in our demos, and then take a look how easy it's with Kendo UI. I'm not sure what you guys are using it already. So let's get on with basically with the SPA using Kendo UI. So there are three things in the Kendo UI which makes up the SPA kind of architecture, or the backbone for building an SPA with Kendo UI. There are three things. Basically, the first one is a router. We'll look at each one of them one by one. So first one is a router, second is view, third one is layout. So basically you would put a layout on the screen, and then you will bring in views at different points in the time, or based on user actions into the view. Router is the one which is capable of intercepting the request. When somebody says I want to go to the next functionality, or I want to go to the next screen, router intercepts the request and says, oh, he has to go to this particular route. So okay, what is the route configuration? Okay, for this route I have to show this view. So pretty much you set it up saying like, this is my view, the view has this portions, I want to show the view body in this portion, and then the view header in this portion, and then router, you please take over. So this is a building block of Kendo UI, the three building blocks. So let's take a look at quickly on one by one, because I want to get to the demo soon. So router, it's responsible for tracking the application state and also navigating between the application states. Basically, when I say state, it's very analogous to say like state is nothing but a screen. So it tracks different screens, and then it navigates between the different screens of the application, and it integrates with the history, basically the browser history. It integrates with that and uses the fragment version of the URL. What you would see in your address bar is like there'll be an hash, and then you will start seeing all over the routes. How do you use it? Basically, you use route to define the routes, and then you use navigate method to navigate to a route. So that's it. You just give the URL. It knows that okay, for this URL this is the route, and then in this route we have told okay, show this view. So that's how pretty much the concept of router is. A view. What is a view? A view is nothing but a screen in the app. The content of a view can be an HTML string or a script template. You can build up a string at runtime and then inject into the view, or you can create a script template. Pretty much you create a script template and then say, hey, at runtime when somebody asks for this route, I want you to take this script template and then inject into the view. So both the things are possible. By default, it wraps content in a div element. If you want to change it, you can change it. We can pass observable as a model to the view. So basically, you have a view, and then view needs a model to work with. So basically, how do you do it? So you use the observables, and then you pass it on. So that's how you pretty much work with a view. A layout is nothing but a simple concept like which says, hey, this is the layout of the app. This is how it should look like. So it again inherits from a view, but all you need to do is you just create the layout and say, hey, this is my layout. And it allows rendering other views or other layouts, so you can nest your layouts. We'll hide the view when a new view is rendered on a location. So basically when you say, hey, route, I want you to navigate to the screen too, you do not have to take that onus of okay, I had already presented a view, now I need to hide it. No, the layout will take care of that. It knows that a new view is coming into the transition, so it knows that a new view has to be loaded, so it hides the old view and then gives you the new view. So what are we building today? I just want to give you a preview instead of just me jumping directly into a demo. I want to make sure you understand what we are building so that you can mentally map, when I start coding, map the things between the different layouts or different pieces of the application. So today we are going to be building Northwind traders. I hope everybody is aware of the word Northwind. I just searched the net to pick up the logo of the Northwind traders, and I was lucky to find a logo. That's what you see there. So those of you who have done programming in .NET for 10 long years or 12 long years, you will know that Northwind will never decease. It's going to be there. That's one of the widely used demo database. It's basically a e-commerce database which has categories, products, suppliers, customers. So today I'm going to be building only three things. Let's assume this is like a single page app for Northwind traders where we want to show the categories, we want to show the products, we want to show the suppliers. So I will never the user will never navigate out of this single screen. When he clicks on products, what he's going to see is the next one that you're getting now. He will see the product listing in a very, very modern way. And what you see there is a Kendo UI web control called as list view. I will show how to do that. The bottom, what you see is a list, is a pager control that Kendo UI provides. I will show you how easy it is to do all these things. And then finally, we'll build this jazzy looking grid for suppliers. We'll list down all the suppliers. And let's assume the administrator wants to quickly filter things, or he wants to sort things, or he wants to edit things. So yes, I'll show you how just a 10 lines of code can build this grid. So I want to make sure you understand this. So first, we'll build the categories catalog. I want to show that this is a very simple looking UI. Then progress to a much more jazzy looking UI, which is the product catalog. From product catalog, we'll again progress to a very widely used and then very rich control known as a grid. Okay, so that's what we are building today. Now that's it. Let's see some action. We're going to be going into the demo next 20 minutes. I think I should be able to build this SPA. So bear with me. I'll be going a little bit faster now. So now what you see here is a Visual Studio. What I have done already is, in order to power me for the data, I have created Web API. So what you see here is, like, I have a categories controller, which is nothing but the categories Web API. So this gives me a complete listing of the categories that we have. We have a products controller. So basically I have this products Web API, which gives me all the products that I have. And I also have suppliers controller, or suppliers Web API, which is nothing but returning me all the let me show you. For example, I'm using Chrome because I'm an IE guy, but Chrome does one thing good, which is when I go back here and then I say API/categories. I hope you can see this on the screen now. So what you see here is the Web API, which is coming as an XML. But if I use a fiddler, and then pretty much if I use the fiddler and then fire this particular request, it can give me in a JSON format. So basically, if I open the same URI in IE, I will show you that IE will come back here and then say, hey, do you want this to be downloaded as an JSON? So let me show you this. So what you see here is, it says categories.json. I think I don't have my zoom it. Just let's get me zoom it. Okay, so when we use Web API and then issue the request in IE will say, hey, it can return in JSON. Do you want to download this as a JSON? So basically, I'm using these services to just power my backend because I need all this stuff to So what you see here is a blank. Just give me a second. I don't know why my taskbar is not hiding. It's coming in the middle. Okay, so what you see here is a empty application, empty page basically. I have created a web application using ASP.NET, but it doesn't matter whatever you do, because as you can see here, it's just an HTML file, but I'm just using the web server for a reason. So I showed you all the web API, so that's what's powering me in the backend to get the data. Now what I have is, I have a simple HTML file. As you can see here, I've created something called as northwindspa.html. So that's what you see here, and it's blank. I don't have anything. So now first thing I want to do is, Kendo UI depends on two things. One is a style sheet, and then another one is script. So I'm going to just say I need the style sheets now. So what this does is, it's going to go and then get me a style sheet. So what you see here is 3 style sheets that we need. Kendo.common, and then I'm using a Moonlight theme. So the Moonlight is a theme that we support. So we have around 7 themes out of the box. And then app.css is something that I've used for my application. So second thing that I need is I need the scripts. So as I said, we depend on only two things. So the first thing that we depend is a jQuery. So we need that. Without that, we won't work. And then we just need one library, which is known as kendo.web.min.js. That's all you need to power the Kendo. And now for my application, what I'm going to do is I have created a JS file called as northwindspa.js. So this is where I'm going to write all my application logic. So that's one of the things that you should also do it. Basically, one of the best practice that industry experts say is like, don't put the third-party vendor JavaScripts and your application JavaScript in one place. Why? Because you hardly touch the third-party JavaScripts when you're developing, because it's already fine. It's good. So you don't need to do anything with that. But the one place that you keep on going is your application JavaScript. So what you do is create an app and then pretty much put everything there. So now what you see is northwindspa.js is completely empty. Only thing is, for my reference, I put some couple of points there, and then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reference that. So it's in app folder, and then I have said northwindspa.js. So having done that, now what I'm going to do is, remember I talked about the web API that I will be using. So let me resize. I think my taskbar is having problems. It's stuck now. So let me resize. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a window level 3 properties, which is basically nothing but the web API path for all these things. So I need categories, I need products, I need suppliers. So I just defined that. If you remember, I talked about a router. So first thing we do is we just define the router. I call it as Northwind router. So let me zoom in on the code. This is all you need to do for the Northwind router. We have kendo.router, the object, and then all you need to do is just say kendo.router, and then in the init function you say, hey, I want you to render this layout view in this application. So what is this layout view and what is this application? Let's take a look at it. Basically, I just need one div and call it as application and say, hey, I want everything to be inside this guy. So this is my kind of a wrapper. And then you notice here a new usage or a keyword used or a variable used called as layout view. But where is the layout view? We still haven't defined it. So let's go ahead and then define the layout view. So what we need for the layout view is simple. Just say new kendo.layout and provide the template for that layout. So now again, the question would be, okay, where is this layout template? We never defined it. So layout template is nothing but we're going to come back to the UI, the HTML file, and then just define a layout. So I'll explain you what the layout looks like. So if you see here, just let me quickly do a couple of things here. So I have a div. So let me quickly prettify this. Okay, so I have a div which is showing an header, then I have a div which is showing two things. One is it has two sections. Notice two sections here. So okay, so now a little bit better. So okay, let me explain you what this template is all about. I have a div, I call it as a wrapper. I have a header, div ID header. So you could pretty much use HTML5's new header template, header tag, not a problem. So I have an H1 and then I just say, hey, I want to place an image from images Northwind this. So it has 100 width, height is this much, and then just put a Northwind traders and then this. And then I have something called a section. I've given an ID called pre-content, meaning there's something I want to show before the view, and I have a section whose ID is content. So this is where the actual view will be shown. But look at this tag here. So this is actually a script template. So we call it as text/x-kendo-template. We gave it the name layout template. So that's it. So once you are given the layout template, so now it knows what to do. So it knows that, okay, the layout view is this guy. Okay, that's it. So anything else? Yes, we need to define the route. So first thing I want to do is when somebody logs on to my application, I want him to be navigated to something known as categories route. So how do you create a route? Simple, use the router and then say router.route and then give you a route. So my route is slash and categories. So that's it. So what should happen when somebody browses to this categories? Well, I want you to show this index, something called as index view in this pre-content, and I want you to show categories view in this element called as content. Okay, I hope you're getting now. So basically it needs two views now. What is that view? One is the index view and another one is the categories view. So let's go ahead and create the index view. Again, simple concept. What is it? New.kendo.view, define this as a view and then say, okay, the view is actually this template. So we're going to create that index template and I am going to give it a model, some model to work with. Similarly, let me define the categories view. So this categories view requires a categories template and then it requires a categories model. So first let's go ahead and create the two model. One is the index model. So I'm going to just create the index model. I'll explain what I'm doing here. So basically I created an observable object and then on the observable object I have an onSelect. So onSelect will handle the click event on the menu bars. So whenever somebody clicks something on the menu, this will be bound to that menu click and then this will fire that. So what am I doing? I'm just trying to retrieve what item in the menu was clicked and then I will just say, hey router, I want you to navigate to that particular screen. So basically I have categories, I have products, I have suppliers. So whenever you click something, it's going to route to that particular route. So we have defined only one route for now, which is categories. So we'll come back and then define other things. So let's go ahead and then define even the categories model. So categories model is simple. Again, it's an observable. It has an items. Now here's an interesting thing. It says category data source. Basically it needs the data now. What is the data? I want to go to my web API, categories web API. And then basically I'm using the Kendo UI JavaScript client-side data source now. So this is how you define a data source. If you notice here, I have defined window.categories path is equal to /API/categories. That's all is required to go and then read it. If you see my code here, I have not written anything except doing something like, okay, my schema is like this. It contains a model. The model has a primary key called category ID. And then I just say, I want you to read from this path. What is the path? Window.categories path. And then that is basically, defined here. Window.categories path is API/categories. And data type is a JSON. As I said, we work very well with JSON. Now what we just did was we created an index view. For index view, we created an index model. For categories view, we created a categories model, and categories model requires the categories data source. Now one thing is missing is, you remember here we need to create the index template and then we need to create the categories template. Let me quickly show you, so this is what my index will look like, and these things are the content or the categories view and all this thing. This is my index thing here, which contains a menu, categories, products, and suppliers. So let's go ahead and quickly put all these templates. I'm going to go back to the HTML. Now first thing I create is an index template. Okay, let me explain you what exactly does this guy contain. So all it contains is a unordered list, but notice this data binding concept here. I have said data-bind events, what it should do when there is we are using a data-role called menu. So this is a Kendo UI specific. Kendo-role menu will convert this unordered list into a menu. And whenever there's a click event on the menu, we have an event called a select, meaning you're selecting a menu item. I want that select event to be bound to onSelect function on my model. Remember, for the index view, we gave index model. So pretty much I've bound this. OnSelect is here. I'll show you that. So this is how we are binding it. So on the index model, we have onSelect method. So it will handle the menu item. And that's my index view. I'm listing down categories, I'm listing down products, I'm listing down suppliers. Now, second thing we need is the categories template. So again, the categories template is pretty much similar. All it has is a header which says category catalog, and then this is interesting. Take a look at this piece of code. We are using data-role as a list view, and then I'm binding so many things. What is it? Basically, I'm saying the role of this unordered list is a list view. The source for this list is items, and then the template for each item is this guy, category-item. So basically we'll see what each of these things are. Data role list view, it's a control. So Kendo UI will be able to convert this into a list view control. Data bind source item. So where is this coming from? Remember this categories model? So this categories model has this items property. So we just bound the source of the list view to this property called items. And then now it requires a data template called category item to work with it, or to display each item. So let's take a look at the category item template. So what does this contain? Simple, it's an LI, because it's an unordered list that we are using it to convert it. And then I have a simple, I'm just saying text category name, text description. So I'm doing a data binding now. It's pretty similar to what you would have done in your .NET related things. Data-role is not the type of the view, but basically data-role will tell Kendo UI what that element should be converted into. Basically data-role list view says, hey, use this, take this unordered list, convert this into a list view. List view is a Kendo UI control. I'll show you what it does. So basically what we are doing is we are doing a data binding to the category name, and then we are doing a data binding to the description, because category does contain, if you see here, category contains this property called as category name and then description. So I'm going to be binding to these two properties of this category controller, or the web API that's coming down as a JSON. So now pretty much we have done. So basically what we did was we created a Northwind router. We said which layout and where it has to show. We created a route called categories, and we said for this route I want you to show categories view and then index view. We created the index and categories view, and both of these index and categories view work on these two models. To get categories, we created a categories data source, and that data source is going to our web API, which is at categories/API/categories. Now, one thing that we need to do is we just defined everything, but in order to make this to work, we need to tell the router that it has to start. So what I'm doing is, I hope everybody remembers this. This is the jQuery's thing to say, like, on document load. So I'm doing router, I want you to start, and then I want you to navigate to this /categories. So I want you to go to this particular route. So what this route does, we'll see now. I'm going to go here, and then, so did you guys see this? It just, boom, it just came. That is because, I've been pretty much working on this web API for quite some time, and then web API is already warmed up, and then it's giving me the data completely. So let's take a look at, is it really doing only one network call or not? I'm going to start capturing, I'm using IE developer tool. I pressed F12 on IE. So whatever you see in the bottom is known as IE developer tool. It has a network tab. I'm now capturing the network activity on this page. Now, now I'm going to go and then, pretty much do this. Now, here's the interesting thing. The network call it has done is this guy, /API/categories. You can see that it's a result 200, and then it has brought application/JSON. It was an XML HTTP request. Now, if I get inside API/categories, you can see the response. The response is basically, the JSON that we need. So now we are done with categories. Now what I want to do is, whenever I click on products, I want to go to the products view. So take a look at the address bar. When I click on products, this is how the route is defined. So it's /products. So let's go and then define this route now. How do you define a route? Simple. Come back here, and then say, I want the products route. So how do you define? Use the route method and say, hey, I want I want you to intercept slash products, and when somebody comes and clicks on products, I want you to intercept and then show index in this pre-content, show products view in this content element. Now we need a products view, so let's go ahead and create a products view. So what does products view contain? Products view will just tell me that, hey, here is the template for you, that is the UI, and you need to use this model. So let me go ahead and then define my products model. So again, products model, I need to go to my web API or my service and then get the products, the list of products. So it needs a product data source. So let's go ahead and then create a product data source now. So product data source, pretty much similar. All it is doing is it says, hey, schema of your data that is coming down is actually a model, and then it contains a product PK known as product ID. From where can you read this list of products? It's here, window.products path. And then what is window.products path? Window.products path is nothing but /API/products. So let's go to /API/products quickly, and you can see that this is what I'm going to be returning pretty much as a JSON. So I'm using Chrome, so it's doing an XML. But when I run this, so I'm going to be getting the data as a JSON. So now I have defined the data source, the model, and the view. One thing that is required is what is the template for the view. So we are going to go ahead and create a products template now. So let me quickly create a products template and then tell you what we are doing in the products template. Products templates is again pretty simple. I have an H1, I'm saying products catalog, and then here is an interesting thing. I say I want a div to be converted into something known as a list view. The source for the source for the list view is items property from the model that we have bound. Okay, so and then I want to place a pager so that it can page through all the data that I have. I think there are around 90 plus products that are there in the database. So just take a moment to understand this. So we have created a div and we have said data-role list view. So Kendo UI will convert this into a list view, but how it needs to be converted, that's what this template will tell. How should each item of this list view should look like. So I need to now provide this template. So I will say product item template. So what you see here is basically a simple div, and I have an anchor, and I'm showing the product image, and I'm showing the product name, and then I'm pretty much showing the price of that particular thing. Of course, I have put some CSS magic here and there, and then now if we go to the screen and then click on products, we should pretty much see the products coming down. So let me go back, refresh the page. Okay, we have this. Now let me go ahead and click the products. Boom. I think it's taking a little bit of time for you guys to refresh. So now you should see it. There you go. So we have now created an SPA. So what you're seeing now is I clicked on the products item on the menu, and we just created a Kendo UI list view. What you see here is a list view. When I mouse over, I've done some CSS magic. It shows what the price of that particular item is. It should come as a mouse over on top of that, and then you see a pager in the bottom now. We use that that data-role is a pager. So this is the pager. You don't have to write anything except that. There are 77 items, and now when I click on, let's say, paging, so it will automatically do the paging. You do not have to write any single piece of code. That's because all the data has come down, and it's a JSON. I have only 77 items, and it's very small payload, and then so the data source is now doing the paging client side. You don't want it to do client side, you can actually pretty much go and say, hey, I don't want you to do paging in client side. You can go ahead and then do it in the server side. So it will give you everything to the server, and then you can page on the server. But for this demo, since I have only 77 items, I let the data source handle my paging in the client side. Now I can just, look at this. It is so fast, so fluid. That's what this product is all about. Now, we need to finish one quickly, and that's suppliers. I want to see a grid of supplier. So first thing, notice that when I click on suppliers, the route that is created is here. Sorry. So the route that is created is /supplier. So simple. Now let's come back and then write the route. So what is the route? Route is a supplier's route. So what I'm saying in the supplier's route, I say, hey, I want you to intercept this guy, and when you get a request for that, I want you to show index view in this pre-content. I want you to show supplier's view in this hash content. So now we need a supplier's view. So let's quickly go and then do supplier view. So what does supplier view require? It requires a template, and then it requires the model. So first let's quickly create this supplier model. So simple, for the supplier model, all I need is an items property, and that item property is bound to a data source. So we need a supplier data source. So I'm going to pretty much go here and then say supplier data source. And then what does it do? Again, the simple things. It just defines the model, which says, hey, whatever JSON data is coming, it has a product primary key, and that's known as supplier ID. And where should you read the data? You should go and then read it from here. So what is window.supplier's path? So window.supplier's path is basically this much. Hang on, I think I zoomed in a lot of things. So that's all. So now we have defined the view, we have defined the route, we have defined the data source, we have defined the model. Only thing that is left out is defining the template. So let's come back here and then say supplier template. Okay, so what you see here is an interesting thing. I'm converting just one line of div into what we call as a grid. So this is all it takes for you to convert a div to a grid. So what you see here is data-role, and that's a grid. And I'm saying the grid can be sortable, can be pageable, can be filterable, can be grouped, can be edited. So this is interesting thing. I'll show you a couple of things now. Editable. And then what are the columns that I need? Remember, this has a lot of columns. Okay, let's quickly look at suppliers. So suppliers has a lot of columns, right? So I'm just trying to say, like, hey, I want the title of the column that grid should show is company, and then it is mapping to a field known as company name. So this is what the UI should look like, and this should map to this property in the data that's coming in. And that's it. We are pretty much done with our SPA. Now let me come back to the screen. Now I'm going to go one by one. So what you see here is, for the first time when the screen loads, you will see the categories view coming up. Now keep noticing the address bar. So we are now in northwindspa.html /categories. Now when I click on products, look at that, we never left the page. We are still there. All we did was it just went ahead and then brought the view, the products view. Now is the interesting thing. I'm going to click on suppliers. Boom. When I clicked on suppliers, notice the grid that's coming up now. This is actually going to the server, pinging it has pinged my API, web API, which is /API/suppliers, and then got the data and then converted that into a grid. And is this grid like a passive? No, it's completely active. Now I can come back here and say, hey, show me anybody who who contains admin as a word in their title. I can do that filter. Now you saw a filter happening. This filter is now happening on the client side. You don't want this filter happening on the client side. You can pretty much do it on the server side too. Not only that, let me clear this and look at the paging. So this paging is again happening on the client side. You can actually control this if you want. There are only 29 items, so I left it controlled on the client side. Currently my page size is set to 5. You can pretty much go ahead and then increase the page size. So where can you increase the page size? So you can increase the page size here. So the data source has this page size set to 5. So I can come back here and say, you know what, give me 10 items. So let me refresh this. So now I'm going to go to the suppliers. You will see now I have 10 items coming up in the grid. So you'll see, like, I'm going to the suppliers. So I had just changed 10. So now interesting thing is, we talked about an editing scenario. So look at this. This is what Kendo Grid can give you. This pretty much has this capability of a pop-up editing. I never wrote a code to get this pop-up. It's all inside that control, that Kendo Grid UI web control called as grid. So it pretty much has this, and you can do anything that you want. So now interesting thing is, notice we never left this single page. So what is happening? It is fluid. User feels like, oh, this is pretty much good. But in the back end, what we are doing is we are pretty much going and then getting only that portion of the data that we need and then fill it up. So that's pretty much what I had in mind for the demo. I'm pretty much done with the code. So this is the demo that I wanted to show, how easy it is to create this SPA with Kendo UI, categories, products, suppliers. There was a lot of question on, will this code be available? Yes, I will put it on JS Fiddle, and pretty much you can take a look at the source code. This is completely open source. There's nothing, I'll be blogging about this SPA demo as a separate blog post where I explain each thing, saying like, okay, we need to create the route, we need to create the view. So I will be explaining each piece of that, and then we'll take a look at, and the source code will be in JS Fiddle, and you can pretty much copy and then use it for whatever you want. So coming back to the slides now, so that is what we saw. So demo time. So that's pretty much how you can do an SPA with Kendo UI. Now I'm going to be going through the question and answer. So this is the time for you to log the question. So it's 3. I think I have 4 more minutes. I think I've finished on time. So I'll have 4 more minutes. If you guys are okay, what you can do is you can stay back for 5 minutes more or 10 minutes more, and then I'll try to take the questions one by one. I already see that Abhishek and Dhananjay has been answering the questions pretty much one by one. So I'm going to go by the bottom. Some of you have liked the demo, so thank you. That's what we do. We show you how cool things to do this in Kendo UI. There's a question, is it possible to use MVC helper for all of this code? Absolutely, you can pretty much use whatever I did, but the JavaScript portion is not possible yet, because the MVC wrappers that we have, that wrapper will only output the control, not the scripting template and all the stuff. So straight answer for you is MVC helpers may not be able to help you in this scenario of SPA, because we are writing all the script templates, whereas the MVC helpers actually output the actual controls, the JavaScript required for the actual control. So at this moment, you would have to handcraft the way I handcrafted it, like doing the script template, the JavaScript and everything. Hopefully, this SPA just came out in our Q1 2013. So it's still in the nascent ages. So we're going to be looking for feedback from your side and then see how we can better it. So rest assured, going forward, it's going to be going better, than whatever it is. Pramod Gogi, you have a question. Will the edit changes update the database directly without any queries? Absolutely. If you have provided, if you saw me using a data source, so data source has a capability to actually you telling the data source that, hey, whenever you have to update, you have to use this URL. So you should have your web API in place. In my case, if I just do a post for /API/suppliers, it will create at the backend, because I'm using the ASP.NET Web API, and Web API has this concept that if something gets posted, you write the code to read it and then save it into the database. But from our data source, you do not have to write anything except point the data source to that update URL. That's all you have to do. Srinivas Abhishek, you're saying, can we use Kendo for offline purpose? It's completely up to you how you architect your offline things. Kendo relies only on 2 things. One is the control. So you define the control, and then you just have to feed the data. So whether it comes from a server, or you're reading from a index DB in the client side, or your whatever client side thing, you just feed the data source the data, and then it will start working. So it's up to you. Sandeep Jalrula, you have edited the items only displaying in the grid. If you want to edit more labels or data, I'm not sure I understand. What I've done is I've pretty much said what are the data that I need, and I said I want each one of these columns to be editable. That's said through data-editable pop-up. If you don't want pop-up, what you can do is you can say inline. So now when I come back here and then go to the suppliers, hang on. So you can say in cell, inline, and pop-up. So it's up to you what you want to do. I kind of like this pop-up scenario wherein whenever you click on edit button, a pop-up comes up, and then it looks so neat, and then everything is modal. You cannot go back to the back until unless you finish this pop-up that's coming up. Many of you are asking, like, will this video be available? The recording will be available. Yes, we will be pretty much uploading this particular video. We have recorded this, so we will be uploading this, but we're going to write a recap blog post. So keep looking at TelericHelper.net. Hopefully I'm going to be writing it tomorrow, and then at the max Monday you should have a blog post in TelericHelper.net, and you'll have the slide deck that I've used, and then you'll have the demo, the video, and also I will blog a separate blog post where I will outline how this demo was done using Kendo UI. Ajay Koperla, you're saying does the data can be stored offline? Yes, it can be, because HTML5 based browser will provide you offline storage, but mind you, it's only in HTML5 powered browsers. And the older browser don't have the concept of offline storage, so it's up to you what you want to do. What is the recommended storage? It's up to you. It depends on the application. If there is some portions of data that can be kept on the client side, you can keep it. But you just have to keep in mind that not all browsers are HTML5 compliant. What you saw me doing was create a web API in the backend, which is very good if you're like, for example, this is a web application, but if you have a mobile application which wants to talk to the same data, so pretty much then you need a web API which can give you a JSON data as a JSON payload. So that's good. So design your backend as a web API so that somebody who wants to read this as a JSON, they can. Somebody who wants to read that as an XML, they can. Some of you are asking for, can the pop-up editor be modified? Not at the moment. We do not allow you to, there is no thing to edit the pop-up, because it's all generated by the control. It looks at how many columns they are, and then it just pops up this edit neat looking div, and then there is an update and then cancel button. So hopefully if more and more people start asking for that, we may be able to come up and then do it, but I'm not sure. I need to check with the product team. There's a question, can Silverlight be used in a SPA? I mean, if you have Silverlight, there's no need of the SPA, because Silverlight runs completely on the client side. So it's as good as a .NET web Windows application running on the client side, but only thing is it's running inside the sandbox of a browser. So it's much more richer. So yes, you can use Silverlight and then pretty much do a lot of things, but this is completely web, meaning HTML, JavaScript, CSS. Paritosh Patil, you're saying, does this pop-up show control according to data type, like date picker control dropdown? Absolutely, yes. At this moment, none of my controls are, all my columns are just a string, so you just saw the text box. Otherwise, if I had a date here, it would show the date picker, it would give you the Kendo date picker. If there was a numeric control, it will put a numeric text box, like that, yes. Srinivas Abhishek, you're asking, does license allow to edit the source of Kendo? Absolutely. When you buy a license, we give you the complete source code, although it's not advisable to change it. But if you know what you're doing, please, the whole source code is available to you. You can customize it. For example, I'm using a theme. You don't like this theme. What you can do is we have a theme builder. You can go there and then re-theme it to according to your organization, colors, all those stuff. A UX guy can completely theme it and then export it as a CSS. Instead of using our CSS, you can use the new theme CSS that you did, and then that will look like your organization colors and schemes. So it's 4:05 p.m. So if you guys are okay, we will stay on for 5 more minutes. We will do a hard stop at 4:10. So keep logging your question. We will save all the questions. We will go back when I write the recap blog post. I will take my time and then answer each one of your questions, and then it will be answered in the blog recap blog post. So go ahead. We still have 5 more minutes. Log the questions. I'm just trying to pick up one by one and then answer as much as I can till 5 more minutes, and then we'll close the the webinar. Vinaya Swarup, you're asking, will this support hybrid app development? For the hybrid app development, the preferred package is Kendo UI Mobile Control, so that's what you should use. Sri Kumar, you're saying how can we change the paging to server side? We have to pass the page numbers and all, right? No, you don't have to do all those things. What you need to do is pretty much you just say, hey, server paging is true. So that's all you tell the data source. So data source, what it will do is it will actually send all the parameters to the server side. Like, what's the page number that the user has asked, what is it, and all the stuff. Kashyap Navalkar, you're saying how to implement Kendo UI on SharePoint. Well, as you saw, I just included two style sheet, two script files. So all you need is these two files packaged. So if you're doing a sandbox web part, this won't work because sandbox web part will not allow any outside script files or the style sheet. So if you are doing a visual web part, what you can do is you just create the web part, do whatever I just did, meaning just package the style sheet, package the script files, and then write the Kendo UI JavaScript codes, and then that's it. When the page comes up in the SharePoint, the Kendo will be activated, and then it will be able to spit out all these controls that you saw. Vinaya Swarup, you're asking what level of security is taken care during transmission of data. That's absolutely up to you. What kind of URLs that you're using? Are you a secured? Are you doing an SSL? Or are you? Is your web API anonymous authentication exposed, or is your web API protected by a maybe a form-based authentication or whatever? It's up to you. Kendo UI is completely client-side JavaScript framework, which gives you the capability of controls, which gives you the capability of data source on the client side, what you just saw. So the security aspect, we never come in there. It's up to you how you architect your backend. Srinivas Abhishek, you're asking support IE6. No, sorry, we support IE7 and IE7 plus, meaning we are supported from IE8. So in IE8, although there is no HTML5, we know how to do the magic in order to make it work. Ashish, but you're saying, can you update your documents for Kendo? It's not up to mark of Telerik. I'm not sure what you mean. If you can write back to us, either to my email ID, which is, I'm just trying to flash my email ID now. So my email ID is lohit.nagaraj@telerik.com, or please send an email to sales@telerikindia.com. Pani Kishore, you're asking how to handle exceptions in SPA. Basically, the exception in SPA is nothing but a exception coming from the web server, the web service. So we have the cases where we can handle the errors, and then you take care of what you want to do when it's an error. Praveen Anumula, you're asking how is it different from Upshot supported by Microsoft for SPA. I haven't personally worked with the Upshot. I can pretty much take a look at it, and then maybe or if you have done something in Upshot, you can pretty much come back to us and then say, hey, this is what should change in Kendo UI SPA. We will be able to look at your feedback and then take it from there. Arga Jordar, you're asking, is there any control for adding data? You just saw me, doing an edit scenario. The same pop-up can be used for add scenario. I didn't showcase that inserting, but yes, you can do the insert too. Ratnesh Gupta, you're saying, is Kendo UI backward compatible in terms of HTML or CSS versions? As I said, we support IE8 plus, IE7 plus, meaning IE8 and onwards, and then all the other major browsers. So we take care of that backward compatibility when you say the browsers, all the stuff. As you know, IE8 does not support HTML, but when we see that it does not support HTML, we fall back to JavaScript for many of the things that needs to happen. But you do not have to worry about that. It's all taken care in the back end. Biswaranjan Sandhu, you're asking how to handle error in Kendo Grid. Pretty much, if we can take a look at our demos at demos.kendoui.com, we already have everything set up there. We have validation examples. We have basically grid is a passive, meaning it is getting data from a data source, and the data source is a service. And then if service faults, it has to make sure the service is sending the right validation messages so that you can handle it as an error class and then pretty much show maybe a pop-up or show a message on the screen, like that. Ramarao Pandela, you're asking any control to scroll multiple videos. Pretty much I showed you the list view. So this is pretty much what you should use. What you see here is, I'm scrolling a bunch of products, but it's giving me a pager, see this, I'm paging through a different product. So this is how you can use and then do that video scrolling that you're talking about. Ajay Kopperla, you're saying data dash role grid can be changed to data dash role is equal to list view. Absolutely, you can change it to whatever you want, but the template, you will need to make sure you provide the template when it is a list view. If it is a grid, it will the grid, as we all know, is nothing but a row and a column. So it will automatically put that many rows as the items are there in the source, and then that many columns as that many properties in the data source. If it is a list view, you would have to pretty much write a template as to how each item should look like. Prakash, you're asking for, I see you only use JSON as a data type. Out of the box, Kendo UI data source, which is our client-side JavaScript data source, supports JSON and XML. If you have any other formats, you would have to pretty much either create the XML format out of it or a JSON format out of it and then feed it to our data source. It will be able to work then. Srinivas Abhishek, you're asking packaging support for Android or iOS. That's a completely different context. That has got nothing to do with SPA here. Our Kendo UI mobile controls, yes, you can use PhoneGap to package it to Android or iOS. Or if you want more information, you can contact us. We have a cloud-based editor known as Icenium, integrated cloud environment, which can create either the Google Play, meaning the Android APK files, or the iOS package files with just one right click on the project. So we can give you more information. Contact me at this email, or you can contact sales@telericindia.com for more information. Yeah, list view does come with filtering and sorting, so it's up to you. So it's 4:10. I'm really thankful to each one of you who have made it to the this presentation. I hope it was worth your time. I hope you got some concepts out of this, and I will be closing down the webinar now. I'm saving my questions. I'm going to give you one more minute. If you have any questions, please log it. It's 4:12. I'm going to give one more minute, and then at 4:13 I'll just save all the questions so that I can go back and then answer it. So thank you very much. Note that we will be announcing two winners, winners of our .NET Ninja T-shirt. So keep looking out for the recap blog post. I will announce the winners there. We will contact you, and then you will have to send your address so that we can ship it to you. If you want to know more information on what are the future webinars we have, you can sign up for any of our one webinar. Register for any one webinar. We'll send you the future webinar things. So you can go to announcement, and then we will pretty much, this is what we have, June and July calendar. So the next webinar is on June 13th. We'll be looking at reporting best practices for ASP.NET applications with Telerik reporting. So all these webinars, you have a chance to win 2 Telerik.NET Ninja T-shirts. So this is the T-shirt that we're going to be raffling. So that what you see in front is the .NET Ninja. So you have chance to become a .NET Ninja. If you don't win it this time, don't worry. We have a lot of webinars coming through. June 6th, 13th, 20th, 27th, and then we have July's. We are running our Q2 release webinars that happened on our corporate in June 17th. So we'll be running the same thing on July 1st for 3 days. So all these webinars, you have a chance to win .NET Ninja T-shirt. So thank you very much, for attending this webinar. I hope it was useful for you. If you need any more information, please ping us. So this is my official email ID, or you can pretty much send an email to sales@telericindia.com. Thank you very much for each one of you. Have a nice day, and then have a good weekend. Thank you.